Well, we had a interesting week in football for sure, and it all starts with this great Thursday night game. Chargers Raiders. Raiders pulled off a 63-21. We both predicted the Raiders would win. Did you think this game would end this way?
You know, when we were talking, we thought it was going to be 2-0, and that might have been generous. We were hoping for a 0-0 tie. No one saw this. The Raiders scored half their points they scored all season in one game. Something like that, a fourth. It was unreal. The Chargers, they needed this because now they can move on from their head coach finally. So things are
Yeah.
right in the football world because of this game. Thank you, Raiders.
Yeah, I think we should all write a sincere letter to the Raiders for helping the Chargers figure out that Brandon Staley is the issue and he needs to be fired.
Mhm.
Um, a few games ago, I believe, or it might have been last season, he said he was going to run the defense, and that did not turn out very well for the Chargers. So it's great to see that the Raiders have finally convinced the Chargers to fire their coach, allowing an Aiden O'Connell-led offense to 63 points is just unacceptable. I don't care what coach you are. At least with the Broncos earlier this year, you had Tyreek Hill, you had Jalen Waddle, you had Mostert, you had A-Chain, you had Tua. Who do the Raiders have besides Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs who didn't even play in this game?
I don't know. That one-handed interception though was so sweet by the Raiders. Their defense, they played good. And I think this also kind of a test for the Chargers how much they need Herbert, but not to be good, to be a mediocre football team because now you can tell he kind of carries them to
Mhm.
mediocrity, and without him it was just a mess. And Stick didn't even play bad by any means,
No,
but
no.
their defense just no heart, didn't want to compete, just a bad game to a rival.
Yeah. All right. So we didn't rank this game, but I think we both know the answer. Is it a shit show?
Absolutely. I
It
don't
is
get
a
how they
shit
scored
show. Game
zero
one.
0 points to 63. Unreal.
Yeah, absolutely unreal. No, it was an interesting game to say the least. So I quit watching, which I rarely do in football actually, but I did quit watching because it was too bad. I watched 3 quarters of that Broncos game, which was even worse than this. But um all right, let's move to Saturday, which is weird to say.
Yeah.
NFL, like I understand you want to try to get more viewership, but this is just weird. I don't know if I'm here for it, but whatever. What do you think about the Saturday games?
I don't like them. I get why they did it because college football was a couple bowl games, and they had plenty of TV time. They could get more viewers, but for the players, they talk about player safety all the time. You're just giving them shorter weeks all the time now with these like Friday, Saturday games being thrown into the mix. So
Yeah.
personally, I don't like them. I think they should just stick to Sunday. Quit chasing money and views. Like think about your players for once.
Yep. Yep. Nope. The NFL is definitely hypocritical in a lot of ways, and there's another one for you. So, Broncos Lions. This is the first game. This was the last game on Saturday. I don't know why it's the first one on my list here, but I'll let you go first, and
Yeah,
I'll close out the
yeah.
statement.
I think you'll probably agree with me that it was a shit show. Being the Broncos have been playing pretty well the last month, much needed win in a tight AFC playoff race. Lions been struggling the last couple weeks, and Jared Goff threw for 5 touchdowns on your defense. Didn't really get much going. Lions
Yeah.
defense played their first good game in 4 weeks. So it was just a must win for both teams, it seemed like. And the Lions just
Mhm.
went out and played a way better of a game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Vance Joseph is hard to read because there's been 2 games now where his defense has just looked absolutely awful, and I know he's not all to blame. Like, I think we oftentimes want to blame it on a coach when a performance like this is so beyond bad. But obviously, like, our defense has had some lapses this year multiple times, so it's kind of unexcusable. But, I really don't think the Lions offense is so special that they should be putting up 42 points against anybody, let alone a defense that's now considered, I would say, in the better half of the league, at least. I would say most consider them that now, especially with the way they've been playing. So it was really disappointing. I also feel like I still haven't seen a Broncos game where the offense has truly clicked the entire game, where I've been impressed by what the offense has been able to do. Has there been glimpses? Yes, but it just feels like constantly you're seeing Russ and the receivers talking it over, or Sean Payton getting frustrated on the sideline. It's a constant battle. And as a Broncos fan, it's really tough to see because, we used to have Peyton Manning, what were we, like, the most scoring offense in the history of the NFL or some shit like that? Like, I mean, the man put up like 56 passing touchdowns in a season, and now we can, this is
Yeah.
a normal week for us, 17 points. So definitely a shit show. But
Yeah, one more thing I'll add is it kind of sucked that Jerry Jeudy, when he's your best receiver on the day,
yeah,
like statistic wise, it's never going to be a good game for the Broncos. And they
yeah,
couldn't get the run game going very well.
and he only had 4 receptions for, or he had 3 receptions for 74 yards. Like, that's nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty mid performance. And
Yeah.
the crazy part about that is one of his receptions was for 40 yards. So, it's not like he was, I don't know. It's just interesting. But yeah, definitely a shit show there. You know, the Broncos luckily have a winnable next 3 games. I believe they play the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Chargers, and I think we can compete and win all 3 of those games if we're able to turn it around. So, sorry if you're not a Broncos fan. I'm always going to be passionate about my team. So, Vikings, Bengals, rate the game.
I'm going to give this one MIDterranean, even though it was a very exciting ending, because the Vikings controlled this game until the fourth quarter. Browning couldn't get anything going. Mixon couldn't get anything going. Chase had a rough game, got a little injured there. And then the fourth quarter, Browning decides he's him, gets T. Higgins involved for the first time this year since week 2. He makes a Space Jam type Michael Jordan play with his arms stretching out behind the pylon for a touchdown right at the end of the game to send it to OT. And then he makes the Vikings regret ever cutting him. Very passionate. Reminded me of the Kirk Cousins, you like that type of outbreak. It was pretty sweet. So, but it was overall, I think it was kind of a mid game. Another crazy win for the Bengals, who are riding hot right now with a chance to make the playoffs. And the Vikings make the NFC race just that much tighter for those last 2 wild card spots.
Absolutely. I would agree with you on MIDterranean. I think, like you said, the Vikings weirdly controlled this game. Jordan Addison had a hell of a game. Shout out to him. He, I think a lot of people were like, ooh, is he going to be a good number 2 option with Thielen gone? And he really has stepped up in a lot of ways when he's been asked to. So shout out to him. He's having a hell of a year. And honestly, he's getting overshadowed by some of the other rookies like CJ Stroud and like Bijan Robinson for Rookie of the Year. But like, I think, if this is a normal year, he's getting talked about more for Rookie of the Year. So, but no, I totally agree. I think the Vikings definitely not dominate. They controlled this game for most of it, and the Bengals really showed up at the end when they needed to. T. Higgins put up T. Higgins put up a performance this game, and it was shown. So good for him. Browning, 324 yards and two touchdowns. That's all you need from him. So, going to our next game, it was our midday game, actually. Weird game, but Steelers Colts.
Yeah, this one to me was a shit show. The Steelers lose again, and their offense, I don't know. You could, they had Canada to blame, but now I don't know who you blame. They're starting, or Trubisky's getting benched next week for Mason Rudolph, so they're trying someone else. So I don't know what's going on with the Steelers. 7-7. Will they be able to win 2 of their last 3 to get the winning record? I don't think so. They have a pretty tough schedule coming up. It was bad. Their defensive player is now suspended for the season after the hit he put on Pittman. Big loss for the Colts, too, if he's out for a while. But Minshew looked good this game. Colts controlled this the whole way, but it was not a good game overall.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to ask you something.
Yeah.
How shocked are you that the Colts are 8-6 right now?
It's weird to me because it doesn't feel like they're winning all these games. Every week is close, and it's like, oh, they won that game by 3. They scraped it out. And now all of a sudden they control their own destiny and they have a chance to win their division. All 3-way tie right now at 8-6. Jaguars are kind of falling off. There's a good shot they go 10-7 and win this division. So
yeah,
Minshew, it's crazy what he's done because some games he plays bad and then others he plays pretty solid, but he's led them when no one thought he could.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this Colts team is extremely underrated. They're 8-6, like I said, and honestly, and I don't want to be like, oh, I was that guy, and I didn't say it on this podcast, so I really can't claim this, but the way they played against the Jags in Week 1 showed me a lot. They're a very gritty team, and it's hard to take away that kind of attitude from a team. So they've shown it all year. They've been in close games. They're going to continue to do well. And like you said, there's a chance they could win this AFC South division. The Jags are not looking good, which is where we'll get to towards the end of the podcast. But there's a very good chance the Colts realistically could make the playoffs and even win the division. So, but on the other half of the ball, the Steelers, man, I think they're going to figure it out. It's Mike Tomlin. I mean, he'll figure it out, right? Like that's what we're always used to. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like they were 7-4 not too long ago, and now they're 500 team again. So I'm also going to go with shit show. I really didn't enjoy watching this game too much, and also shout out the Colts, man. Whatever running back they put in that system, he's going to get at least 75 yards that game. I mean, Trey Sermon, I forgot that man even was at college running back, and now he's putting up 88 yards when both Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor are out pretty much. So, all right, going to the Bears Browns.
This game had everything, which is why I wasn't going to before tonight, but I think I'm going to give it a grab your popcorn because it was so chaotic that it was kind of fun to watch. It was fun to watch. It was like, oh, the Bears, they're going to win this game, but then you remember they're the Bears and they like to just lose these games somehow. And then they get into Hail Mary range and Fields throws it and it's deflected and Mooney's sitting there on the ground and it hits him in the chest and it bounces off and he kicks it into the defender's hands for an interception. And the Bears, once again, are inches away from winning a football game that they should win and that they throw away. And if they win this game, they're a game back from a wild card spot. So now, if you're the Bears, what do you do? Honestly, because this one hurts.
Here's the thing. I think this game, honestly, was interesting on many aspects, and it honestly taught me a lot about both of these teams. One, I've continued to preach it. This Browns defense is legit, man. They cause turnovers and they get to the quarterback. Justin Fields didn't play that bad. Like he was moving around. He was looking good. I mean, I know he had 2 picks, which isn't good, but he was on the ground. Like he was moving around and the stat line doesn't tell the whole story, in my opinion. Like he legitimately, I thought, looked better than the stat line shows. But I do think like it shows that the Bears could be contenders with those good teams, like we talked about last week, if they just get a few more guys. And then on the other side of the ball, Joe Flacco keeps getting it done, man. I know he had 3 picks in this game, but he keeps getting it done. And the Brown team is a dark horse. when it comes down to postseason. Kevin Stefanski, I think, is a better coach than we give him credit for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely agree. Flacco finds a way to win each week somehow now, and he's getting a little bonus after every win too. So that's a little incentive for him. But this Browns defense is unreal. They fly to the ball. They're a very cohesive unit. They're 9-5 right now, and they have winnable last 3 games. There's a good shot. We're looking at 11-win Browns team going into the playoffs as the 5 seed, though, because the Ravens will win that division. But they're a dangerous team come playoff time. They can easily go on the road and beat anyone with the way their defense plays.
And I think when we get deep into the playoffs, like people forget how big like having a good defense is because weather gets bad and teams who rely on a good offense when the weather gets bad often struggle at times in those postseason games against teams who have good defenses like the Browns. So definitely a team to watch out for. Going to the Bucks versus Packers. Oh, and I was also in agreement on grab your popcorn with Browns Bears. Going to Bucks Packers. I don't know what to rate this game. I'll go with mid. I think MIDterrean. I think it was okay. Like it was kind of weird to see the Bucks thrive on offense. Like it was like Baker to have 4 touchdown game, 380 yards, looking like an old self, and then Rachaad White going off too, not only in the running game but also in the receiving game. I was like, what the hell? I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about either of these teams. They're both so inconsistent, and I think that these middle of the road teams are just like that. You don't know what you're going to get every week.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think it's MIDterranean more towards the shit show side, just because it felt like the Bucks really controlled this game the whole way. And Jordan Love didn't play bad, but he's on his cold streak again now the last 2 weeks after they beat the Chiefs, and we thought they were gonna just roll into the wild card and be a dark horse team, but now they're 6-8, looking on the outside in. And I will say though, I was glad Tampa Bay won this. I think they're the best NFC South team. Just
Which
because
isn't saying much.
Which they can play like this. So I'm glad that they put it together and they strived. And Mike Evans had an okay game, but they, like you said, Rachaad White might be one of the most underrated players this season because he is very consistent in the run game.
Bold takes on the Logical Nonsense podcast.
You don't talk about him, but then every once in a while you look down, you're playing fantasy, and you're like, he had 20 points again this week out of nowhere. So he's a guy that gets it done. And it was an okay game, but we'll see if the Bucks can keep it going because next week, for all I know, they could score 6 points and Baker could have 4 picks.
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, but I think our take on the Bucks taking the NFC South is looking decent right now. So, I know them and the Saints are tied right now, but I believe the Bucks have the better divisional record. So, going to the Texans versus Titans. Do you want to start with this?
Yeah, I will. And it kind of felt like a shit show, honestly, because the Titans, they were kind of controlling this game the whole way. They jumped out to the lead right away and they didn't play good. And then the Texans just rolled their way right back into it, got it to OT, and then won on a last-second field goal in OT, 51 yards. And, we didn't think the Titans were good. I didn't think the Texans were going to be good with everyone out. Noah Brown was their only receiver this game, and they found a way to win, get them to 8-6 and tied for, first place in their division. So, but it was not a good game to watch overall.
Honestly, I'm going to agree with the shit show. Like you said, the Titans really fell apart, and again, I hate to blame it back on the coaches, but you see a game like this and see a team fall apart like this, and then you see the other side of the ball, a DeMeco Ryans team who Case Keenum is starting. Your starting quarterback's not in. You don't have Nico Collins. You don't have Tank Dell. You are willing this team to a victory. Like, you are giving them everything you can. This defense really turned it on in the second half. The Titans, on the other hand, really looked like shit after the first half. And I'm sorry, but I think we've really kind of rode on that early success of Mike Vrabel. He
Yep.
really hasn't shown it the last couple of years. Is his teams tough and gritty? Sure, but how many wins are they producing? Not very many. Not many to show for. And we wanted to blame it on Ryan Tannehill, and reasonably so. I think Ryan Tannehill is an average quarterback, but and I'm not saying Will Levis is much better, but there's a point where not much is getting better, and games like this kind of show kind of coaching ability.
Yep, I agree. And I also want to add a correlation. Derrick Henry has not had a good season. I think
No.
we need to be honest. He had 0 yards this game, 9 carries for 0 yards.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be in Tennessee anymore. It's pretty apparent. They asked him after the game, and he said he didn't know about his future there. Seems like he wants out. That O-line is not blocking well for the run game.
No.
Tajay Spears is having way more success. Derrick Henry, he's beaten up his body the last couple of years. You can't just ride that anymore. And so
Yeah.
I think this loss might be good for the Titans. Go tank, get a good player, maybe trade Henry and get some picks, something.
Yeah, I think it sucks because I've been such a Derrick Henry fan. Like he's just a legend. Like what he's done and kind of bringing back that old school kind of way of running and just being this ginormous back.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think he's a physical specimen at the running back position. And so to see him not really have that great of a year this year really sucks as a fan. But I totally agree with you. I think the production he's done this year compared to the last 3 years is such a downturn. So, I mean, I think he's still top 5 in rushing yards, but honestly, the rushing yards are pretty down this year across the board. So, going to the Jets Dolphins, we weirdly talked about that game a lot. I just like to point that out. But going to the Jets Dolphins it's a shit show, right? We're all in agreement there. I mean, it was just a blowout freaking donut by the Jets.
Dolphins defense played good against a bad offense, but they finally had their best game of the year.
Without Tyreek. Without
6.
Tyreek.
And sucks for Tyreek, man, because now he's out of any MVP potential out of nowhere. The 2,000 yards is probably close to out of reach now, which sucks for him.
But it does suck. I think it puts him out of the MVP conversation. I think the only way he would have been in that conversation is if he got 2,000 yards, and I don't think they're going to even consider him if he's not there. So it sucks because I really want that award to change. I think it's so driven by quarterbacks. I want the award to change, but it's not going to. So I also want to bring up something, at the beginning of the year, there was a narrative, and I'm not saying this defense is bad by any means, but we were talking how elite this Jets defense is, and starting to not look that elite anymore.
At some point, you got to get tired of being on the field the whole entire game every single week, and your team's not winning. It's easy just to kind of just give up on the season once you're eliminated from the playoffs, which sucks because given that this team and their defense, if they had the adequate amount of rest each game, I think they're still an elite defense. They're just not showing it lately. So it's
a good take.
It's kind of hard to knock them.
I like that. That's a good take, honestly, because I think, I was being a little bit of a bozo there. I think I was definitely writing them off a little bit too soon. But I like to bring up different perspectives. So Chiefs, Patriots, or did we? Yeah, no, we rated shit show. Chiefs, Patriots, rate the game.
To me, it was MIDterranean Sea. Overall, the Chiefs get a good bounce back win. Patriots, they got some points on the board, but they're still just not a good team this year. And for the Chiefs, again, they had receiver issues. Kadarius Toney, a couple more drops, one leading to an interception. So this Chiefs team to me right now really isn't selling themselves as contenders for the first time in a long time in the AFC. So it was MIDterranean, much needed for the Chiefs, but they're still struggling.
Yeah, they better hope they peak at the right time because if not, we haven't seen it. I think there has been some highlights. Rashi Rice has really stepped up in a lot of ways as a new weapon for them. I don't think he's anything to the level of what they've had in the past by any means, but it is a weapon, and so it's good that he's kind of found that connection. But I just still think Tony is been such a negative person on that team. I mean, I don't know how many times he's made disappointing plays. I mean, I really don't know why he's playing as much as he is. I'll be honest. I really haven't seen him do that much on the field. And I know they traded for him last year, but I don't think it was that great of a trade for him. I don't know how much he's helped. So, but like you said, the Patriots are not a good team, and we continue to see it. I think honestly at this point they tried way too hard to try to win this game. I mean, Kansas City was in control, but they really tried real hard, and I think that's Bill Belichick trying to save his job.
So tank for Caleb.
Yep. All right. Going to the thriller of the week. Giants Saints.
Oh man. This was unfortunately a shit show because I was hoping the Giants were going to keep it rolling with DeVito. Everyone was riding that train, didn't play the best. Saquon didn't play the best. And, Derek Carr, we love to hate on him. We give him some props here because he completed like 85% of his passes this game, 3 touchdowns. And the Giants didn't really have a chance. The Saints controlled this the whole way. And the Saints, they're trying to win that terrible division somehow, some way. Just, I don't know. It just was not a good game overall. Sucks for the Giants. They had momentum 3 in a row going into this one and then laid an egg.
Yeah, we gave Tommy DeVito a whole lot of talk and a whole lot of dick sucking for them to just put up 6 points in this game, not even score a touchdown. So 24-6 kind of sucks. They were also a team that I had in my little 11-game parlay. Let's not talk about it though. So the Giants were disappointing. I was hoping they could pull out a win. I think it was a winnable game for them, but they threw up a dud again, and I hate. Did Saquon play in this game?
I'm pretty sure, but I don't think he did. Very good if he did. I didn't pay too much attention, but let's see.
Oh, I'm gonna look.
Yeah, 9 carries, 14 yards.
All right, I'm gonna go on a little rant here.
Yeah.
Saquon, you and Josh Jacobs were part of the big running back give us respect movement. And yet, what do you know? You get paid money and your team starts losing and you put up 14 how many yards?
14 yards on 9 carries.
Yeah. I'll just stop my rant there.
Mm-hmm.
That speaks for itself. But going to the Falcons Panthers.
Oh, God.
What another thriller, another shit show, in my opinion.
We just love our NFC South games. Why does it feel like there's an NFC South game every week somehow? Like, oh my God.
That's a good point. And even when they do play, like, I feel like they play such shitty teams outside of their division.
Yeah. It's just unreal. My question to you, though, is would you pay 45 cents for a ticket to this Carolina game? Because I know, did you see that on StubHub? On StubHub, they were going for 45 cents a ticket to this game.
You know what? I would because I've never been to an NFL game. So I think it'd be worth it. I mean, you still see NFL talent. Obviously it was a shitty game, but I think it'd be fun just to see how players are in real life and see some of the talent on the field. I mean, I know these are the most talented teams, but there's still some talent out there.
Yep. And
Bijan Robinson, even though he didn't play very good, but
I'm glad the Panthers won because the Falcons are fraudulent, and I don't think they have as many wins as they should have, or they should have less than they do right now. And I didn't like that they had a chance to make the playoffs. So it's a good loss. So it makes me happy, especially the Panthers after the game was like, yeah, we're just glad we eliminated them too. So.
Good. Yeah.